everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today we're in the Temple of Time again in my Legend of Alex world. This is of course part 2. Sorry I've had to break it up a little bit, but I had too much footage to fit in one episode. So here we are again. My name is Shells, and enjoy the video. And now we have to work on the front facade. Now, honestly, I've been putting this off. This is going to be terrible. Part of the issue, not only does it look different, depending on whether you're looking at it through the 3DS version or the Ocarina of Time version. I think I'm going to go with the Ocarina of Time version. But more importantly, these bell towers are going to be the same size as these aisles on either side. But what that means is that this area in between is actually going to be really, really short by comparison. And it's going to look unnaturally short. I'm going to have to squish a lot of windows in here. So looking at how it looks in the game, we've got the main itty bitty little rose window up top. And then we have a series of two sets of, well, what look like Roman arches on either side to make windows. And as well as the Roman arches that are in the center here. So we somehow have to fit 6 Roman arches right in a row. And that's not going to be fun to do. I also worry that these bell towers are going to look abnormally large compared to what it's supposed to be. But I'm not sure that there's anything I can do to fix that. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the same thing I did with that wall, which is completely wall off this entire section here, and then poke a hole for the door. Ugh, I'm sorry. I can't just leave these butter blocks here. They look awful. We'll use that, and then we can do that. Maybe put a couple of these butter blocks back in. Yeah, alright. I think I can live with that. And now that I have a big wall here, I feel like I should probably actually start building the facade itself. I should figure out where my roof is going to go, figure out what I'm building it out of, and yeah, build up bell towers and actually start getting this facade going. You know, I kinda hate it. I think the problem I'm having here is that these browns are way too saturated, especially considering I spent all of this time doing a very monochromatic build on the inside. It just looks way too vibrant. I know it's all brown, but it is such a saturated brown. I think I'm gonna have to rethink this particular color palette. I think something else that's bothering me is that in the in-game version, this is just a square box for the bell towers. I don't see any sort of buttresses or anything, and that bothers me. It looks bad. So I think I'm gonna add buttresses to it anyway. Alright, I've been tweaking with it quite a bit. You can tell I've desaturated the colors significantly. It looks a lot less bright. Which this is supposed to be a brand new temple. It's supposed to be when the temple time was first built, so it does seem a little bit, I don't know, dirty for how new it's supposed to be. I think I'm just going to have to come to the conclusion that Minecraft does not have the colors I want. If there was any sort of block colors that I wish that Minecraft explored more, it would probably be more beige colors. Beige and tan. Some nice desaturated neutral colors. And ones that don't have this weird pinkish tone to them. As much as I like the dripstone blocks, it's still very, very pink and tends to blend more like with granite and brick. I think I've messed with this particular palette just a little bit too much, and I think I'm just going to keep trucking on. I'll probably make more changes to the color palette because I still don't like it. Moving on to more of the actual facade, what it's supposed to look like. I do have an awful lot of space here. I can probably get away with having a nice full fog effect for my stained glass windows here. And I would like this window to be right up against this bell tower, but I don't think that's going to happen. I have this bell tower out so far so that way it comes flush with what's going to be the outside of the building. Ignore those parts, they can die. So I'm going to be building the outside here, and I wanted it flush with that. And unfortunately that does mean that there's going to be a bit of a gap between the edge of the bell tower here and where I can actually place some windows. I also can't place anything right here because directly on the other side of this is the wall blocks. It's just a little bit of an awkward space, so the soonest we can have a window is here. That's a big gap, but we'll make it work. Hopefully, and this is something I'm really worried about, is hopefully I can actually fit the 6 windows going across there. I think I'm going to try to poke those out and try to figure out how that's going to work at first. I should also probably pay attention to where these windows are going to go on the inside. I think I want them to actually start level with the second floor here. So I actually need to have it move up, and we're going to start poking the holes right here. And I'm not sure how many across is this. Hang on, I'm gonna go count. So we have 21 across, divided by 3, so there's 3 sections within that 21. That does make 7 blocks per section. So I need to, so I actually have enough room here where I think I can make 3 wide windows along the sides, going all the way across. Hopefully I did that math right. I mean, one way to find out is just to punch them out and see. I did not do that math right. Alright, what went wrong? Let's start with my center line. This is my center line. I wonder if I do 3 wide for the middle windows and just the 2 wide windows on either side. Or better yet, this middle section's actually going to come out a little bit further, so maybe I'll have a larger gap here and all of the windows will be exactly the same size. I think to mimic the fact that this center section is supposed to come out a little bit, I think I'm going to actually push it out on the interior as well, so that way this isn't just a big flat wall here. So I'm going to select everything, I'm going to move forward, and we're going to say move. Do I want it to be out by 1 or 2? That's going to be my next question here. No, did I grab too much? I did grab too much. Whoops. Oh. Very silly of me. Should I reduce the size of these doors? I made the executive decision to not reduce the size of the doors. And what I have instead is I actually have this line here 2 wide, so that way it covers both these windows and these ones. And these ones I made slightly larger. I think having some variance is a little bit of a better idea. Psst, tree. And now we have just enough room to have a little itty bitty rose window, just like they have in the original build. So we're going to go ahead and install that. Yeah, I think that'll be good enough. And then we just turn these into little arches, not with stone bricks. Here we are. I'm just gonna bip, bip, bip. And then we have enough room to have 3 layers of stained glass I'm going to put on each of these. So the same as what I did there, I'm going to have a layer of white colored black for each of this, white colored black. and then I can build the facade on the outside of that. So that's actually where the facade is going to go, is right there. I suppose I should actually decide what color to make these windows here. I mean, the yellow is a decent enough color, I guess. It makes sense. It matches with the yellow of the Triforce inside. And honestly, I think most of the Temple of Time motifs tend to have golden trims on them, so I might just do yellow. I'd do white, but I would need more layers to add empty space to get the white in, which I suppose isn't unreasonable. I do still have room to work with here. I might mess around and see what I think. I suppose I should actually take a look at what the yellow looks like in there, which, I don't know, it's pretty subtle, so... especially since I've got both a white and a black layer on it, it's not just like screaming yellow at me, so... I might leave it as that, just a little hint of yellow. I think that should be fine. Nope, the more I think about it, the more I think these windows ought to be white. Pretty much all of these windows that don't have a coloring should be white, I think, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. It'll beef out these windows just a little bit extra, but I'm okay with that. Looking at how much these windows are contrasting with the mud bricks, or rather how much they are not, I'm almost wondering if I should change them all to just straight up black. Well, that definitely looks a lot better from the outside. Now I'm gonna quickly check and see how it looks from the inside. Oof, that's dark. I don't know, I almost wonder if I need to add yet another layer into the glass itself, so that way there's 2 layers of white and 2 layers of black. Alright, black on the outside. And white on the inside. Perfect. I think the next thing I have to determine is the roof. Now ideally, according to the picture, I would want the roof line to actually come down here, but you can see that that's intersecting with the vault. I actually need to have it up higher. And according to here, this is the edge of the window. So this is basically as low as the roof can go reasonably without running into problems. And it's really way up high compared to where the rest of the windows are going to go. I'm not entirely happy with that, and I'm not really sure how to work around it. There's also supposed to be like 2 roof lines. There's the tower that comes up here, and for some reason there's like a weird roof line up there, and I'm not sure how that's going to correlate with anything. I'm not convinced I like the line of that one either. It's still, for one thing, it's still too high, and for another thing, it doesn't feel like it's the right angle. Maybe a 1-1-2 pattern? That's a bit better. I think I could reasonably get away with that. And here we come to yet another dilemma that I've been dreading. I think the problem is that these proportions are all wrong. And I can see it and it bothers me. The problem is that I have limited space to work with in order to make functional windows that actually pass all the way through to the interior. And technically speaking, this bell tower should be a lot smaller and thinner, this roof line should be a lot lower, and these windows should be a lot bigger. And overall, it tends to make it look like there's a lot more wall space than there really should be. And it kind of bothers me. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what the best way to solve that is. When I originally built this, I actually created some fake windows. Specifically, I think this window was large enough that it covered that whole space, and then I had the second window completely off to one side. So I find myself questioning whether I really should have that same fake window effect. I'm just going to cry at the sheer amount of fake windows I've got going here now. Oh no, I don't like it, but It is what it is. I just can't seem to leave well enough alone. I keep messing with this stupid gradient, and I'm going to keep on messing with it until I'm happy with it. I just know it. I think the next thing I need to do is actually create the front entrance, and there's a little decorative element that goes on the front here. It's kind of weird because it's different in the 3DS version where they added stained glass windows, and I kind of disagree with that. I'm going to put in that decorative element and then try to put in the archivolt. I think something I need to decide here for this front section is that it kind of looks like there's a series of pillars that run down, and the best block for that would be these nice wall blocks, but I'd almost like to have the wall blocks here but have them not connect to each other. And it's the not making them connect to each other that's causing me grief. Usually the best solution to that is to space out the walls, you know, like this. But, well, it's just my wall is not that thick. So it almost makes me wonder if I need to actually recess it a little bit and then have wall blocks along here instead. Yeah, I think I like that. It adds a lot of depth to this front facade area and makes it more interesting, and it's more accurate to the game. Something I have to worry about now is trying to figure out this archivolt. Part of the problem with the archivolt is that, well, I feel like, for one thing, it should be a little bit broader. I almost wonder if I need to make this a little bit smaller and more squishy, just to make the archivolt come out more. Another thing is that, in any way you're looking at this archivolt, it's, for some reason, a Roman arch. And it bothers me. You have this Gothic build, and they decided to put a Roman arch on here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it into a traditional pointed arch, and maybe even put a triangle on the top of it. Yeah, this is what I was afraid of. I have quickly run out of room, because you can see I'm right at the edge of where I wanted my doorway to go. I don't really want to compromise by making this doorway smaller. I really wanted it to be this large of a doorway, and I think I need to make my archivolt larger. Unfortunately, that also means taking over more of that section. Well, I'm certainly making quite a bit of progress here, but once again, I can't help but notice that the more I work on this, the more I hate the colors I've chosen for this stupid gradient. I know I've gone through like 50 different iterations already, but I think I'm going to completely rework it all again. Alright, fine. After messing with this stupid gradient, I finally decided to ditch the brown coloring and go full grayscale, so that way it matches the inside as well as the outside. It's the same basic block palette. And honestly, I am still not happy with it. I think some of that is just a little bit too textured for me. And it's kind of driving me a little bit crazy. It's weird because there's very obviously textured in the in-game file, but I just I hate it. I don't know what to do with this. Oh no. But you know, the front facade is pretty much finished here. I think at this point all I have to do is make that secondary roof thing, complete this tower here, and then put a roof on these bell towers, and the facade part will be completely done. You know, I actually think the problem might be the gradient itself. Having such a heavy gradient is adding a lot of texture to this building, and this building is supposed to be brand new. It's supposed to be just been built, and so having it look so worn is causing me problems. I think that's part of the reason I hate it. I almost wonder if I should remove some of the blocks in the gradient. It's maybe a little bit better. It's a little bit more plain, but I don't know. I think the roof for the bell towers here is actually going to be pretty simple to do. It's not even like a brooch spire or anything. It looks like it has a gradual slope and then suddenly abruptly spikes upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and try to emphasize that. That's good enough. It's pretty simple. It just goes up by threes over there. I've never claimed to be good at roofs. I think it'll be decent enough just as is. And so I just have to copy it over to the other side, and then we need to build up this tower a little bit, build up that weird secondary roof, and figure things out from there. Alright, bell towers, check. Stupid wall and extra roof thing that makes absolutely no sense going down the length of the temple. Check. Now to do this one. Now that looks like bird poop. Haha! I did it! I'm still not fond of the color scheme on the outside, but you know, I have a facade. So there. I also don't think I'm going to be particularly successful in building a redstone door in here. Like, it'd be one thing if it was, you know, just like a one block redstone door inside here, but this is a lot of blocks. I might just make a little tiny entrance room, and by entrance room I mean just, you know, wall off all of these sides all the way and just have two doors. It's a bit of an inelegant solution, but it is still a solution nonetheless. That still looks like bird poop to me. I think I'm just gonna get rid of all of the polished diorite. Gross diorite. There. It makes this section look rather plain, but I'd rather it be plain than look like bird poop. You know, the plus side of having the outside blocks be pretty much the same as the inside blocks is I can take all of this tracery on the inside here, copy it, and then put that on the outside of the build. So the weirdest part about making the outside of this building is that normally I would build up some flying buttresses and lead to that section there, but instead what it looks like is that there's actually going to be buttresses that stick out from the sides here, and it's actually going to make what looks like big alcoves for each individual window. And those are going to go all the way out to become the same buttresses that flank the windows down below. And then what's even weirder is that this roof comes down and covers those alcoves. This makes no sense to me, because the whole point of having windows is to allow light in. So having big eaves of roofs that completely cover these windows is senseless. Putting your windows in shadows is really, really odd. But I think that's the best thing to make it appear as it does in the game. I should really stop messing with this stupid gradient and just learn to be happy with it. At least it's more of a beige color now. You know, I think that may have done it. I think I am finally happy with this stupid gradient. Boy, that was a journey, but I think I'm happy with how it's turned out now. Alright, at this point, pretty much the entire front half of the whole temple is completely done. So now the only thing I have to do is create the Master Sword Chamber. So on the topic of things that don't make any sense about the Temple of Time build, this whole Master Sword Chamber... So for one thing, there's supposed to be this big long hallway. I say big long, but it's a pretty short hallway. But there's a definite transition room between the Door of Time here and when you actually enter the Master Sword chamber. It means that it's going to look really funny to have this little tiny rectangle there and then the big chamber. And I suppose what you could do is you could just build up this section here and make essentially a false window, which is what I did before when I made this build. I think the other reason for having a false window is we have this octagon shape, and it's one that's, you know, flat side, 45-degree angle flat side, and having that octagon shape stick out of the building here is really super awkward. It's such an awkward shape. I'm not really sure how to make it look natural and look nice. I think to make my life a little bit easier, I'm not going to bother with a hallway at all. I think I'm just going to start right here and build out a big room to build this tower. I can't see trying to add in a little hallway here. It doesn't make any sense to do so. So we're just going to go ahead and lay out the basic shape for our octagon here. I do want it to come all the way to the edge, the outside edge, leaving enough room to actually make a bit of an outer wall, but not very much. So I'll probably just kind of go and build an octagon. Hello, gate. You are in my way. Well, that's certainly one big honkin' octagon of a chamber here. I think the floor in this room is supposed to be just like a flat grid of white instead of the diamond shaped of white, but I really like the way this diamond floor looks, so I think I'm just going to use the same one that I used in there and bring it into here. Just have to conform it to this octagon shape. So I see a couple of problems with having this pattern in the octagon room. First and foremost, this is a really awkward transition going into here. So to solve this, the best solution would be to drag this out into this room, but then I'm not sure how it's going to interact with these stairs. The other issue I'm running across with this is that this room is supposed to be dark. It's not supposed to be really bright. This room's supposed to be bright. This room is not. There's only technically one window in this room, and that's the only source of light, supposedly. So I think that, well, easy solution is to just remove all of the lights, replace them all with the snow blocks. I almost wonder if for this downward slope area, I should just replace all of the blocks that are supposed to be in the white region with polished diorite and just bring that all the way down. Technically I could make snow blocks into slabs using the snow carpet blocks, but I'm missing the calcite and the concrete powder, which makes it kind of hard to make the full pattern, so I think I'm just going to try it with diorite. Yeah, I think that blends pretty well. So I think I'm just going to leave that. Looking at it from down below, it's not too bad either. It kind of brings that gradient just a little bit more into it. Now I need to start laying out the pillars. There's supposed to be pillars on each corner of the octagon in here. And I think I'm going to use the exact same pillar design I used for in here. I think I'm also going to add more windows into this room. Technically there's supposed to be just the one window on this far wall, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I think I'm going to at least have windows on these three sides. I don't think I can fit a window on this side because I'm going to run into this thing here. Or I'd have to build way taller than that, and the height of this thing is supposed to be that high, and so maybe, perhaps. I'm also staring at this octagon shape, and I'm noticing that my diagonal lines are way larger than my flat sides. So I think I'm actually going to extend my flat sides out a little bit. and shrinking the size of these outer edges, because that's kind of bothering me. Okay, I feel much better about that octagon. So in the actual game, it looks like the walls of this room have the design where we have the pillars just going straight up, some sort of weird horizontal band that goes all the way around, and then it goes up. And it doesn't actually create an arch in the game, but I'm going to assume that that's going to create an arch. Ah, this room is so dull. And not only that, it's like canonically boring. At least in Wind Waker, they had the Master Sword Chamber have like cool stained glass windows that depicted all of the sages on all of the sides. And theoretically, I could do the same thing here. I have a side for each of the 7 sages. Why not use it? And then I could use this side for the Triforce. No, they just have flat, boring walls. I might change that. I don't think I'm going to add in stained glass windows on this lower section, but I'll definitely put themes to the top windows, so that way they're themed to be like all of the sages in Ocarina of Time. I'm not doing pictures of them, because obviously this is supposed to occur before Ocarina of Time, but I can at least do pictures of the medallions, I think. These walls are so boring. There's nothing interesting about them. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to figure out something to put down here because it's so bad. Just how plain and awful it is. Now I just have to figure out what to put there. Well, it's a little bit better at the very least. When in doubt, add lancets. I'm just gonna go ahead and move on and start building the stained glass windows portion. Could have just gotten away with designing one window, but oh no, I have to make life difficult for myself and design a whole bunch of stained glass windows, some of which are diagonals. Good job, Shells. Ah, you're brilliant. Yeah, alright. And then all I have to do is change the color of the windows to make them represent all of the different sages and what have you. Of course, I don't actually have like 7 temples for 7 sages or anything like that, and I don't really plan on having those, so, oh well. Now, should I change the entire window to be different colors, or should I just do the oculus to make it like it's the medallion? I think I might just do the medallion, though these ones on the corner are a little bit on the small side, but that's alright. So, yeah, I think I might do that. I don't know if I'm even going to attempt to make any sort of design like the medallions. I might. We'll see. Well, I'm a fool. I kind of forgot that there's only 6 sages, because technically the 7th one is Princess Zelda, so there's only 6 medallions. Haha, I'm smart! Alright, so I think I might leave this window pure white then, instead, and then, do the rest of them. Alright, I finally have all of the windows done. Now I'm going to actually go ahead and start working on the vault, and go ahead and close off this big old gap here. Well, it certainly got the vibe I wanted. Look at that. It's, dark. We'll have to remedy that, probably with a hole poked directly in the center. But it does give me the vibe I wanted, which is excellent. Boink. Haha. Oh yes, this is like the perfect amount of light too. It's a bit of a shame I can't make it in the shape of a window, but haha, that's gonna be cool. That of course leads me with the next little quandary, which is actually designing the middle pedestal here. Now, let me clarify something. I don't actually know if I'm going to stick a Master Sword in this room. I might have some plans for it otherwise, but I haven't actually solidified that particular part of this gameplay yet. So I'm just going to leave it as the Master Sword Chamber as you see it in Ocarina of Time, and I'll try to implement more of the actual storyline into this build later. Alright, for the center section, I need to make a big octagon, preferably one that isn't like this octagon, the one that is the 1-2-1-2 pattern. Oh my word, it's not an octagon that goes in the middle here, it's a hexagon! Surprise! I guess that makes sense. 6 sides for the 6 sages. Go me! Well, after some measure of humming and hawing and fussing, I think I came up with a shape that looks close enough to a hexagon that I'm going to call it good. There's this little awkward corner here, and the reason it's there is because I have a pattern of 1-2-1-1, 1-2, 1-1, so this is on the 1-2, and it looks really, really awful. I could potentially just shave that off. Just shave down both of those sides. That fixed it. Yeah, that looks much better. I'll do that to this side as well. Well, it certainly got quite a bit of height to it. The ethereal glow coming straight from the center is kind of funny. But that's just the nature of this particular beast. I can't have the light just like glide over the edge. Not without using light blocks, and I hate using those. Alright. Cool, cool. Now we just need to make a little pedestal in the middle. Now what I should do for the glamour shots is try to mess with command blocks to summon in an armor stand carrying a sword in like just the right position in here. But that's a lot of work, and I'm not very good at those, to be honest with you. I am not an armor stand professional. So, like anything that I'm not very good at, I'm going to procrastinate it and not do it. Haha! Oh, silly me. I'm not done yet. There's supposed to be a big Triforce on here, so alright. Good enough. I proclaim it done. Ha! But we're not done yet. Oh no, we still have to do the outside of this thing. It looks pretty hideous at the moment, so we're gonna have to do a lot of work to get this to actually look decent. So I think the first thing I need to do to tackle the outside of this building is to just take this color scheme, the gradient, and just put a nice skin all the way around the outside of this thing. This building is almost tall enough that I almost wonder if I need to add another level to the gradient and make it a little bit lighter even at the top. Oh yeah, that'll be fine. It almost makes me wonder if I need to bring that at least a little bit into, at the very least, this very top area here. Yeah, I think that works out alright for the front facade as well. Diagonal windows are probably like the worst thing to try to have to build and design, especially if you have any sort of thickness to it like windowsills. Like even with this is just too wide thick of window here. There isn't even any gaps or space or anything, and I am just struggling to build this thing. Usually when I'm designing buildings with sideways windows or diagonal windows, I really have to basically design a window how it looks on the interior, build the window how I want it to look on the exterior, and then kind of fudge everything in between and make them work that way. Because honestly, diagonals are just kind of annoying to try to build and design, especially when you have ones that are at really awkward angles, or even curves. You're just like, you throw in the towel, you're like, I give up. Alright, I think the only thing I need to add to the rest of the tower itself is actually going to be the buttresses that fill in these spaces. And speaking of buttresses, I feel like it's important to point out this section here. I kind of made this buttress tied over so that way it's even with these ones, and so that way it kind of hid this gap, except it doesn't quite hide the gap all the way. So yeah, I can only make this come out this far to make it even with those ones, but I cannot destroy this wall because this leads directly to the inside of the room in here. So everything on this layer cannot go. And maybe what I could do is just for this wall alone, I could just like hack out these sections and just put an andesite wall. Yeah, I don't think that looks too bad. Here's what I did on the outside. It's such an awkward space. You would never see something like this in a building. But, it gets a solid from me. So, looking at what pattern it takes to get from the very corner of this block out to the center block of here, or, well, I guess I'm a little bit off. I'm one block off, but basically the general line it takes to make this buttress, the one it'll follow, is kind of on a weird angle here. It's got a 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 pattern going over here, and that's a little bit interesting to build off of, especially since I'm planning on making this 3 wide somehow. I suppose this was to be expected. You make a blob, it comes out looking like a blob. But it is the general shape that I want, so, and at least it's not a blocky square, so I think I'm just gonna leave it. And there we go! Ta-da! I don't think it looks too bad. There are still some awkward moments. But honestly, at a glance, I think it'll be just fine. The only thing I have to do at this point is add a roof on here. So even just looking at this framework that I have here, I kind of worry that it's a little bit on the small side, but I also don't want just a ginormous dome climbing up to the sky. So I think it should be alright. And voila! We have a roof. I think the only other thing I want to do here is add maybe a gradient, because right now we only have the muddy mangrove roots as our only roof block here. So I might try to add in a gradient. Should be pretty easy to do. And then add in a front door. And I think this build is done. This has quickly turned into the episode of Shells messes with way too many gradients. But I think I'm happy with it. I just need to transfer it to the rest of the build. Well, I made that way more annoying than it really should have been, but I think I'm done. I think I'm happy with it. It's definitely quirky. There are some things I'm not 100% happy with, but just need to add a door and my Temple of Time should be complete. Now, I know that there's supposed to be, like, chandeliers on the inside, according to the 3DS version, but I'm not sure I care, and I feel like it'll detract from the ceiling as it is, so I'm not gonna add them, so there. Otherwise, time for some beauty shots, then. Well, so there you have it. We have a completed Temple of Time now, and I'm much happier with this version than I was before. And I might make some more changes here and there, adjustments, what have you. but I think for now, I can officially call this done. Now, I do want to thank you for being a little bit patient with me with this video, because I'm sure you've noticed that there were some, shall we say, odd noises in the background. So something I have to admit to you is that the reason that I take so long making videos isn't because I take that long to build. Um, I think the main problem is that I'm actually a stay-at-home mom of a lovely little 4-year-old boy. And unlike other jobs that you might have, I can't simply just, come home, kick up my feet, and then immediately start playing and recording videos or whatnot. I can only record when my child is asleep or if my husband takes him somewhere. And it's a little bit unreasonable to regularly be like, husband of mine, please take my child away for like 5 hours. So I was trying something a little bit new, and that is, I actually had my child next to me, also playing Minecraft. And he tended to make, funny noises, kick the wall, randomly blurt out things. But, he's 4, so what do you expect? So I do ask you to be a little bit patient with me. If you want videos to come out more frequently, you'll have to put up with some various noises in the background. And obviously I had a lot more editing out to do at the end of this because, I'd be in the middle of saying something and then suddenly blurt out, Mom, I made a house! And I'm like, great job, bud. And have to re-record everything I just said. But all in all, I think it turned out alright. And of course, there's still some terraforming I need to do. I didn't clean up any of these edges. There's supposed to be a water feature in front. I think this is probably too close to this side. But I think this video has gone on long enough, don't you? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bid you all adieu. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye! And then on, this block I can have it back to the pattern, or I could just leave it all as polished diorite. You are recording. You're doing such a good job.
You are recording too.
Yes.